On this episode of the Minds with Hakeem podcast, I interviewed Kayla Bell-Consolver, who's been working in the mental health field since 2016. She got her psychology degree from Drake University in 2016 and then backdoored and got her master's in clinical mental health and counseling in 2019. In this episode, me and Kayla discussed a ton, but we really focused and honed in on mental health and how seriously it should be taken. Guys, she gave us a lot of gems in this episode, so please stay attentive for what's coming next. The Minds with Hakeem podcast will be right back with you guys after we finish thanking our sponsors. All right, so check this out. I know when buying a home for the first time can be a very stressful process, but that's why it's good to get with a good lender like my buddy Jared Nicholson from Key Mortgage Group. He's so active to educate his borrowers and also let people be aware of their blind spots. This is a good man to make your lifetime lender, to make your process super stress-free, and don't be turned off by the housing process. You can follow him and find him at jnhomeloan.com. So let me spell that out for you. jnhomeloan.com. So tap in with him. Jared NMLS number is 1969744. I repeat that. 1969744. All right, podcast listeners, check this out. My guy Phoenix got a podcast that's really good, and you guys should tap in. It's called Rise Again Podcast. It's a podcast where he tells stories of others to help inspire and motivate, and for everyone to just be their best and get in your own skin and be comfy, man. This guy does an awesome job with that platform that he has, getting some of the best minds around the world to come on there and tell their stories, and he also does a great job at facilitating them and telling their stories. This podcast is available every Sunday on all major streaming platforms. Also, don't forget to check in with my boy on social media at Rise Again Create. That's Rise Again Create. Tap in with my boy. Yo, welcome back to another episode of the Minds with Hakeem podcast. Today I am here with Kayla Bell-Consolver.
All right.
Yeah, I think I said it right, y'all.
You did.
Okay, yes. Y'all know I struggle with names, nothing new. But we got a therapist in the building today, and she's here to help. She's here to give gems and help somebody get to the next level in their life. So we're gonna jump right in. But first, say what's up to the people.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm super excited. My favorite topic to talk about. Anything is mental health. Anything specific with mental health related to like the Black community, because I love to see us thrive. So I'm just excited to be here that you asked me.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. And I got to shout out Taryn for the live. I always show love to my friends who put me on wonderful people like you, Kayla. So shout out Taryn. It's love, but let's dive right in. But everybody know I check in with the pandemic first. How are you? How's your family? How's everybody feeling?
You know, I'm super blessed because no one in my family has, or besides my wife, no one in my family has been diagnosed with COVID. And so I'm really grateful for that. We actually just welcomed my baby nephew like 2 weeks ago.
That's a blessing.
I know.
Applause. That's new.
Yeah, you got it.
Shout out to baby nephew.
Yeah, so, you know, because that's a fear. And so my sister had a very healthy pregnancy in the midst of the pandemic. And so I've been doing well in regards to that.
That's
dope. Like the people I serve, I personally have been safe, and you know, you always get a little nervous if you get a cough and stuff.
Yeah,
I haven't had anything like that, so no paranoia.
Yeah.
But no, I've been great. How about you?
We've been good. Me and my fiance has been really extremely blessed in my family. It's a little tough for my family because my mom and sister work on the COVID unit. They're nurses, but they're doing their best and trying to help save lives. That's what they signed up for. So just constant prayer in that area for me and my family. Like that's what it's been the entire pandemic. So we're gonna go right into the icebreaker question. Y'all already know this season is different. So this is gonna be a good one because I love this question because it changes at whatever point your life is in. What is the best advice someone has ever given?
And you know what's funny about that question? Because I actually was like pondering on it for a while. And I was like, and then it hit me, it's like, I actually don't ask for advice that much. But that's the reason. So going into like the best advice I have ever been given, kind of tag teams with that, is that it's okay to allow people to help you. And I don't know, that could be something just about being a Black woman, you know, just trust, what have you. But the question in itself, like, opened the door for like what the advice is. And since then, I think I've like felt a lot less stressed, and I have to consciously think, okay, let people help you. And so that has been the best advice I've been given.
That's so dope. And like I told you, I was talking to you before, and Marquis, we got to start counting how many times I referenced this episode. The counselor I interviewed, she told me it was the strength to ask for help. I'm like, yo, like that thing, that will stick with me forever, like literally. So it kind of goes back into letting people give you advice, like for real. So let's just get to know you a little bit. You can properly pronounce your name for the people, and let us know where you're from, what background, what your college days was like.
Yeah. So Bell-Consolver, because you said that correctly. I actually got married last summer. So in the pandemic, 7-Eleven, which I love to Beyonce, 7-Eleven, for those that know, yes.
Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Go Nets.
That's true. That's true. So, little super team, but that's another day. Yeah, another day. But yeah, so I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. Lived in Florida until I was about 13 years old. We moved because my mom's job relocated. Yeah. And that's how we got to Bolingbrook, Illinois. No. And so for most of the time I spent my early childhood all the way through teenage years in Florida. And then just most of like high school in like Illinois. So I often like to tell people I was born and raised in Florida, but I grew up, in Bolingbrook. Yeah. Like adolescence was just a different experience. And then I came to Des Moines for Drake. And
shout out Drake.
Yeah, a lot of people have, not so many good experiences.
Everybody can't love that place.
Everybody, like any school, everybody just has different. But for me, I had a really, I would say, positive experience. And I was like a student athlete. And I was like one of the first, jumpers that have been recruited in a very long time. So they didn't really have a jumps program at that time. So it was really cool to kind of transform that stuff. That's how it was in meet tar. And it's like, we need more. And so that was like pretty fantastic. Yes. And so then I just kind of went through, got my psychology degree. And one of my biggest regrets at the time was to not like double major in like sociology. Because I love just studying, the way people work together. Because psychology is very internal based. And sociology is like the relational aspect, the culture aspect, and all of that. But got my minor in that, and then I started working. And so went straight into like the mental health field, got my grad degree in clinical mental health psychology, not psychology, like clinical mental health counseling. Yeah. And really started growing from there. And so I really love like just exploring like trauma. Yeah. And so as I started developing more, I started asking more questions. Then I started learning a little bit more about, like racial trauma. Yeah. So just in regards to us, like Black people, like you see these events, but the mental health field doesn't really target that a lot. So I started combining like both of those experiences, and then looking just at like intersectionality of like people and experiences, and like trauma relates to that. And that's when I really started asking the hard questions that mental health wasn't really asking. And really trying to cater to people that might be swept under the rug a little bit through mental health. So that's a little bit about, how I got into the field. I love that. But for me, for fun, like just as a person, I love music. I always like to say my favorite artist is Kehlani. Oh. I don't know if you know Kehlani, like just ode to Oakland. Even I don't know a lot about Oakland. No,
she's dope though.
She is, and her story, oh my gosh, like just her story. She actually... Dope. It was sometime this week, her like 4-year anniversary of like Sweet Sexy Savage came out, and that was her first album in general, but also like the first time she like released music since her suicide attempt. So it's been like just to have her, like I love her music, I love her, H-E-R. Yeah. Jasmine Sullivan.
She's hard. Yes, Jasmine's the truth too. Yes. Oh my God, let's give it up for all these ladies. That's new. I'm just playing. Right. I'm gonna stop saying that one day, Keith. Yeah. But no, all those ladies are dope. Man, I'm glad you said you love music, because music shapes us. It helps us. It heals. Like it heals. And I think one of the biggest things I'm an advocate of is I pray that music never stops. Yes. Like I wouldn't know where I'd be right now without music, like getting me through tough times. But no, I think you did a great job. That was a good overview. But like that's why you're on here, because the brilliance and the stuff that you went through at Drake, and double majoring and playing sports would have been really tough. I'm not saying you couldn't have done it though. That's what I'm not doing. All right, cool. So what are some of the main reasons you wanted to pursue the field of helping people, being therapist, counselor type vibe? Right. So for me, it like started when I remember I was like a sophomore in high school. And what started actually in the field was like suicide intervention. Yeah. That's what drew me to the field. And so what ended up happening was I remember just kind of walking and navigating. You're just like a teenager. Nothing really like is impacting you as much with other people. Yeah. And I remember there was this boy in my school that had
committed suicide. I didn't know who he was, but I just remember observing just the way other people felt. And it was a pretty abrasive like suicide. And for me, I just remember saying, how in the world was I going through, just my life and just walking through hallways and someone was so, they were suffering so much. And that sat with me. So I remember specifically it took like a week. And after a week, everybody gets back to their life. Yep. Everything's okay.
Jump back in.
And for me, it's like I couldn't let that go, that someone was like suffering. So I started asking more questions. How many other people may be suffering and I have no idea? They might not get help. No one's been able to talk to them and things like that. And so that's kind of what drew me to the field. It's like just suicide. Because I do feel like that's like one of the most, if not the most preventable, death.
Especially right now in the social media world where it's on the skyrocket. Absolutely. But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I like it. I like it. And so I kept going through that. And so when that like drew me all the way, I would say up until maybe like when I got into grad school. And then I started asking more of those questions because I was already focused on suicide. And then I started really focusing, like Black people, we just don't talk about mental health.
No, we don't.
However, we are struggling.
Yes.
Right. And I think our struggle has turned into resilience because we're just like, we can kind of survive anything. I remember my mom once saying, if we can survive slavery and Jim Crow, we can survive anything. But then I started really paying attention to us. And that's how as I got older, I started observing things. I was like, no, a lot of it, we experience anxiety, we experience these things, but we can't talk about it.
We're trained as Black people to bottle that up.
Absolutely.
Like, that's not healthy.
It is not, right? And we're now finally asking that question, like, is this healthy for us? And so as I started getting older, that's when I really started exploring more about like mental health in the Black community. And then when you start combining like the suicide epidemic that's starting to happen within the Black community, like there are more Black youth committing suicide. And so statistics are showing like as the rates of suicide for white youth is decreasing, ours is increasing. And that's, frightening for me. So that's kind of what drew me and like why I'm just like so passionate, even more so now working with like BIPOC groups in regards to mental health. You have things, even thinking about the Latin community, you have things like ICE, how terrifying that can be, just like, I can't talk about how I feel, I can't express the anxiety I have with maybe a family member might be taken by ICE because you never know if the counselor's going to report it, you don't understand it. So then there's a lot of therapists that are missing that aspect of like diversity, just like this client, like we're hard to work with. Like, if you, like in the field, there is unfortunately people of color, Black people are hard to work with.
Stubbornness.
There's a stigma.
It's built up.
Exactly. And it comes from like, are we asking the right questions? So that's where I really started to become more passionate about exploring the role of culture and then teaching people and educating other counselors so that people have more of a safe experience.
Yo, that's absolutely amazing. But especially here in this community we in Iowa where we are super, super minority here. Because like you've lived in Florida, you've lived in Chicago, Bolingbrook, so you've been around a culture where it was kind of a lot of Black people. Here, it's not. It's not. And you can seek out that, but at the end of the day, it's not. So that's like extremely important, especially for the community you're in right now. Please keep that up. So what are some qualities that you possess that make you a great therapist?
Yeah, so I love this question. Okay. Let's see.
Go ahead and boast in yourself. Go ahead. You deserve it.
I've been really trying to hype myself up as a therapist. And I think one thing is, one thing, because I work with, sometimes like people within the age group, between like 13 to like 25. And one thing I think is, I don't know, I hope I keep this when I'm older, but I think I have a good way of just like connecting like with the people I'm working with. And so I call it like I have a vibe. Like a lot of my clients will say
contagious.
They think and they think I'm like the cool therapist. My ideal therapy would be like if I could just wear like a crew neck, some jeans and my Jordans and just kick it.
And that's just your Black culture. Like,
it is.
That's a good thing. Like, and people try to get us to condemn that. No.
I know.
Keep repping that. No,
right. That's why I like the quarantine a little bit. My best therapy was when I was doing that. But that's one strength I would definitely say that brings in. It makes people feel so much more comfortable in therapy because it's not just tell me how you feel. Like, it's a vibe, it's an energy. I would say another thing I do really good is I can code switch very well. And I think that's very important for me as a counselor because when I think about code switching is, I can talk the language. Right? So code switching is just like using like AAVE, which is like African American vernacular English, for those that don't know, is I can use that, but I can also speak in a way that makes people understand what mental health is for that specific area. And I always talk about, like Einstein says, if you can't explain it to a child, then you don't really know what you're talking about. And so every concept, no matter how big it is, I can explain it in language anybody can understand. and that gets people to buy into therapy. Right, so I talk about EMDR, which is this crazy scientific kind of therapy that uses your brain and uses this fancy language, and I can reduce that all the way to using like a stuffed animal bear to get somebody to understand that and see like, oh, okay, that could be helpful for me.
Yeah.
So I like that. That's a quality. My biggest quality though is that I don't ever assume that I know everything.
Oh, right. Sponge.
Yeah. So when a client comes in, I'm always learning. Right. Sometimes I think we as the counselors think that, or even the client thinks that the counselor knows all.
We're higher. We can do this.
Absolutely.
No,
I'm very open. Right. I'm very open to like, if I'm wrong, it's like, look, you know what? I'm gonna think about that because I haven't had enough time to think. Let's figure this out together. And I'm always trying to meet somebody like where they're at. So.
Yo, that's dope. I think that's extremely personable of you to try to meet somebody where you're at when you're in a position of authority. Right. So that's effective leadership to me. Like keep embodying that quality. That's absolutely amazing. But you did say something I wanted to hit on, and you was like, Einstein said, and I didn't know this quote, so you put me on. You want to be able to explain it to where a child can understand it, and like that makes me think about Black leaders who done that. Bob Marley lyrics. Literally, a kid can understand where he's coming from when he's talking about unity and all this stuff in Jamaica. Literally, I could understand those lyrics when I was 10 years old. Yeah. Martin Luther King, he's very clear in his message. Like, if you can read and write as a kid, you can understand what Martin Luther King is saying. Right. Like, literally. So that is an amazing quality. I think some of our best leaders of all time got that. So keep possessing that, keep owning that. Absolutely. Like, seriously.
Because they use that, to like try to, that's how we create a power imbalance, right? They say like, oh, the issue is we know more and they know less. Yeah, the hierarchy, yes. And so that's the way you eliminate it, is you want to make sure everyone can understand. So that way you're not discriminating against people based on that. So.
Cool. So, are you licensed as a certain type of therapist, or you do multiple type, not just mental health and trauma? You dive into different lanes?
Yeah. So just the way it goes in as a counselor. So because I had just graduated, you have like your temp license for like 2 years. Okay. And you have to get so many hours just to make sure you're being credible. Just kind of like a checkbox. Learning. You have to, yes, and that's important all throughout. So actually this year, fully licensed, which means that kind of allows you where you don't have to have as many restraints as you do right now, where you have to get so many hours specifically in this area. But it's licensed as a licensed mental health counselor. So that's kind of the but it's really kind of, you can do a lot within that. So for me, I actually can work, any kind of diagnosis. Okay. I've had experience with, personality traits, experience attachment, if I love a lot with attachment.
That's heavy.
Yeah, so like trauma is like the big umbrella, but underneath that, depression,
so many things trickle out of that. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Question about this time in the pandemic. Have they ramped that up and tried to change it a little bit during the course of the pandemic? Like the 2-year period? No. Not really?
No.
Because we need more of y'all right now.
You're right.
That's why I'm like, come on.
No, I think that's been for the most they've changed is they've allowed more telehealth sessions. Okay. And so insurance is buying into that part. But no, it's the same kind of qualifications. Which some part does make sense because you want to make sure no one's coming out here like,
no, for sure. Just coming out here.
Right, like, oh, I can do all this. So it's like, for me, it's like, I appreciate it because it holds us accountable that we're making sure we're always.
And that y'all can actually go out and help people properly.
Yes, because that's a concern. That's always going to be my concern. It's like, are we all making sure we're treating everybody to the most effective care they can get?
Quick question. You ever thought about going overseas and working?
No,
No? I just thought about that.
Like just living, going over? No.
I'm talking about just going over for like a 6-month, 1-year period to stay and like work as a therapist. Not yet. You still young though.
Right. I haven't ruled anything out. I haven't thought like it's in my plan to do this, but I can tell you like one thing I have thought about. One of my friends like just encouraged me like want me to be like the Batman of therapy. Yeah. I don't know if you're into that. Right. I don't know if you're into like Scandal. Have you ever watched that with like Olivia Pope?
I have not, but that is a very, very popular show. I'm embarrassed to say I never watched.
Okay, so for those that have seen Scandal, I always say like I want to be like the Olivia Pope for like mental health. Across, at least
what was she doing? Now help me out.
Okay, I got you. So, what happened basically, if there was a scandal, and she worked like directly with the White House, if they had some stuff that could take down the White House, they would call Olivia Pope
and she
handled. That would be like, it's handled, period. So for me, it's like that. What that would look like for mental health is like if they're having some like mental health crisis somewhere within their country, and they've exhausted all their resources, and they're like, okay, I need some help. We need to figure out how to do this and resolve this. I want to be the person that they call.
Okay, I like this. I love that.
Yeah, so that's what I was like, that's what
Batwoman.
Yes.
Get that star up in the sky. I see
Yes.
you. Yeah, I know what you're getting at now.
Period.
Yeah, I'm on the way.
Exactly.
No,
exactly.
for real, I got you. I copy you. So diving more towards the mental health. For you, we want to know like what does mental health mean in your own words, and explain the importance of staying on top of your mental health.
Yeah. So in my own words, I mean, mental health, I would say like you can't do anything in the world without mental health. Like in undergrad, I love psychology because without it, like no other job can exist because you have to be at some point stable enough to do something. You know, or else you can lose a lot of opportunity, you can lose yourself and things. So for me, mental health is really just like, in a watered down version, is taking care of yourself. Right? Mental health therapy to me is understanding and learning about yourself so you can be the best version of yourself. So a lot of times people think mental health is, oh no, something's wrong with you, you got a crisis. It was like, no, it's for me, mental health is like always just checking in with yourself. It's a simple check-in. Now that changes based on, you know, how much stress you might have.
Situations. And people don't understand that, like that part there. No, just because you're not sick with mental health, you still are dealing with mental health. Like every day.
Everyone has a mental health. You know, like that's our health, right? It's our physical health. And so for me, I even expand mental health, like, it's not even just in the mind. Like for me, mental health is like the body. So a lot of therapy, I don't ever do any therapy that doesn't involve like checking with your body and your society and community, because that is like all important. And so if you go over thinking about mental health, don't think about just how you feel about yourself. Because you can have like very, you know, high confidence in yourself, feel like I can accomplish a lot and still be stressed, anxious, and what have you, especially with like Black people. Because that's the epitome of racism is I am literally feeling like I should not be treated this way. I am worthy and all this, but the world isn't accepting me as that. So sometimes we think like that is a mental health crisis within, you know, the Black people.
And I'm glad you said that because that's been a struggle with me. Look at me, Marquis, trying to get a free therapy session. It's just like the undervaluing of Black knowledge. Like to me, that's been like something that's been messing with my mental health. I don't think we as Black people value our Black leaders and Black knowledgeable men enough. And also from the other side of the community, we know they don't value it enough. They think they're smarter or like just can overspeak us. But that's something that's been on my mental health that I'm dealing with. So I'm glad you said that. Like that helps me a lot.
Absolutely. So you know, it depends. So taking like the cultural competency area, right? Sometimes we say mental health, taking care of yourself is all right. Make sure you know you listen to music, you drinking water, you taking care of yourself. But I'm not gonna even go into that because everybody knows that checkbox. I would say talking about your mental health is also like putting yourself in situations where you also feel loved and cared about. So thinking about like Black people, like when I work with Black communities, I'm always saying is like focus on yes, you can do these things one-to-one, but also like are you involving yourself in spaces where you are valued, right? Explicitly. So for me, it's like if I'm taking care of my mental health, sometimes I might just hang around with a bunch of like my friends and things like that because it's not just on me. I might do things or involve and like give back to the community because as Black people, that's how we were kind of raised in that. It's like give back to the community. So doing some things like that.
What is the importance of like how should we operate? And I'm asking you literally, how should we operate when we're in a situation to where we're not happy and it's affecting our mental health? Like what are signs that we should do? Should we try to figure things out or should we get away and protect our mental health, or what are steps that you would suggest for us?
Right, absolutely. So what I'm gonna say is, because I hear on one side it's like, all right, how do I try to work through this? And like stay engaged in this thing, and then how on the other side, how do I actually separate? And a favorite therapy word is boundaries. You know, so I believe both of those things can happen at the same time. Know your limit, period, no matter what. And so if your limit is like, the first check-in is of course like, how are you actually feeling it? Is it to the point where it is like taxing you physically, mentally, spiritually, because that's a very important aspect as well.
And we forget about that.
Yes, and that's like number one as well. That's some stuff I had to navigate being Christian, like how do you embed that? You know, ethics. And so there is a way to tackle, you know, the spiritual component of therapy. But in regards to that, you gotta also recognize, okay, if I'm like too much into something, am I exhausting myself more than what's being given to me? Right? And if you notice that you're like, because you can keep working on whatever is like in that situation, but if it's not equally being given, that's when you would put that boundary out, right? But if it's to the point where like you put that boundary, you're like, okay, I'm still gonna work on it, but I'm still feeling like I'm being drained by the situation.
Yeah.
You can take a break. Yeah. And I always say, like, it's a big thing to take a break. We don't have to fully, like,
get away from it.
Yeah, you take space. And if you keep coming, you do what you need to. That depends on the situation. Relationships, it can be a job, it can be,
it can be anything.
It can be anything, right?
No,
and
for
so
real.
that does change given someone's situation.
Thanks for that. That's an awesome answer. Let's see where we at. In the midst of the pandemic, how much easier is it to fall into a mental health slot?
You know what? That's the question. I don't want to break that down.
Go ahead.
Okay, so let's hit on
You can read,
yeah.
ask it, and then answer.
Yes.
Literally.
So if we only are operating in the pandemic as people, let's imagine nothing else in life is happening but
just the pandemic.
It is naturally easier, Jesse, and I'm gonna hit on this like attachment lens for you to slide, because I do think we as people, we're social beings.
Yes.
We like to connect with people. We like to see people. So just in that period of like being forced into isolation with a disease that is deadly is enough for your mental health to slide. Because you're constantly asking the question, am I okay? Am I going to die, right? That's scary,
no, for
right?
real.
Is someone next to me going to be the reason I die or I'm sick, right? So then you have those two of like, I literally am not feeling safe around anybody. But then if you're a person like most who's like, okay, I like to be reassured or be around people that helps me feel okay, then you can't do that either.
Yes.
You're operating in a period of like isolation. And for introverts, some people are like, oh, I love this, but isolation for a long time where you feel like you don't have control of the isolation.
Healthy for anyone.
Absolutely. So that's why I like the app like Clubhouse.
I love Clubhouse. Yes. I'm in there.
Yeah, same. I'm in there as well. And so
I gotta follow you.
Okay, bet. And so when you think about that, like that helped people to stay re-engaged. So that by itself, I would say, is enough to make your mental health slide. When you tackle on things like abuse, right? So you have a pandemic and you're in an abusive household.
You can't leave.
Exactly. So let's say like that in itself is like you're already feeling trapped if it's abusive. Then you're physically trapped. You can't leave it. And that's something that we were worried about with kids in this situation. So then there's that aspect. And then I can keep going on and on.
It's crazy. I never even thought about that. Now you got me thinking she can go on and on. Yo, that's crazy.
And so the last piece I want to hit on, because you're talking about a pandemic, another epidemic I want to hit on, is police brutality.
Oh,
right?
man.
So if it's okay for me to go there, right?
No, absolutely. So, how long have we been in that war?
Exactly, right? So when you tackle on those things, and when you talk about how long we've been there, hitting on generational trauma.
Since slavery ended, we've been in that war.
Exactly. So we still like in the past and in the present, that in itself, our mental health is dropping. And we think about like this stuff didn't start with George Floyd. We know that. But when George Floyd was murdered on national television, right? All of a sudden we start hearing all the names of all the other people. So now we're
coming
dealing
to the
with
forefront.
So now as Black people, we are dealing with, okay, I could die from this deadly virus, right? I'm dealing with isolation. On top of that, I could literally die going to work. I could die driving home.
Walking to the store.
Right. And then you hit on like the way society responded. Right. So now you're going into other settings. People are looking at you. I don't know if you had that experience, but in this like May to like July when I was out in public, sometimes the way I was looked at by white people, it was like the two sides of, I want to care for you. I feel so bad for you. And then the other part of like, just like that anger. You can feel the frustration.
No, I literally was driving back, side note to that. Like I literally was driving back home during that time. And every time we stopped at a gas station, when we was in the Midwest still, the white people were super friendly. I'm like, yo, I get back in the car and my best friend was riding with me. I was like, yo, it's working. Like, these white people are friendly. Then when I got down south where I'm from, and that's why I be trying to tell these people from Des Moines. Yeah. It's racism here, but man, the people down south don't play. Right. Like, they up front in your face with it and don't care. Like, if we with you, we with you. But if we not, I'm going to let you know. Ain't no sugarcoating down here. Exactly. So when I got back home, I felt the evil side of it. I'm like, they like, yo, we don't care. It's what it is. So, and no, I definitely felt that. Like, and that's part of the reason I grew dreads. I started growing my dreads during all this because I know people who see me walk to the store, they won't think I have a college degree. They won't think I played professional basketball. They won't think I'm writing a book. They won't think I'm doing all these things, having a podcast where I'm trying to help people get unstuck. They gonna think, oh, he's a thug. Yes. Yeah. But no, I can actually converse with you. I can actually, I know your language too. Exactly. And I know that side. So That's why I actually kind of start growing my dreads,
Yeah,
so I can, so people can stereotype me. Honestly,
exactly right.
I love it.
I'm gonna re-script your stereotype. How about that? You know,
I love it.
So,
I love it.
Yeah. So you think about all that sliding, which is why my heart like aches for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last piece of like, who's responsible for getting us out of it? You know, what ended up happening is Black people were organizing all over the country, all over the world. So it's like you're stuck in this. All right, you got the pandemic. You got to rely on modern day medicine.
Yes.
Okay? When you're dealing with a racism epidemic, and no pandemic, but I'm gonna talk about the one that's happening here in America, right? Who we are responsible to get ourselves out of that.
Yes.
And that's the piece of like, okay, I can't be depressed, I can't be sad because I have to be the one to progress us.
Yes.
And so that is like, when you think about mental health, like I'm concerned about what we're gonna look like after the pandemic. Right? We are exhausted. We are drained. We have like this is a sense of hopelessness for how long?
Yes.
Right? On top, double hopelessness.
Yes. It get draining. No, and absolutely get draining. And I'm kind of glad you hit on that whole movement with George Floyd. Just rest in peace to him and everything that his family has been through, and all the families affected by police brutality, because that is a real war. And it's like people don't understand that, because like when I was just home for Christmas, I got Iowa plates. So, and I was riding through a country town where it's, for a fact, it's the neighboring town to Beaumont, Texas, where I'm from. All white people there. And I'm going through, like I'm literally going through the city on the back way to Houston, and the speed limit was 50. I'm literally going 51. But I have Iowa plates and I'm in Texas. Right. And a lot of that I've heard, a lot of people have been stealing renting cars with out-of-state plates and stealing them. The cop only pulled me over because he thought I stole the rental car. He saw a black man with dreads going 1 mile over, and he pulled me over. Boom, pulled me over, and he literally only inspected my. He was like, "You're coming a little fast coming into town. I just want to check your license and registration and check your VIN number." He only wanted to see if my car was stolen. Like he literally checked the VIN and gave me my stuff back and said, "You have a good day, sir." So I got stereotyped in that moment, but. And then as a black man, I know I gotta react. I'm in a town where it's no black people at.
Right.
And I'm by myself.
Right.
So how can I react to get myself home, safe to my family? But like that's like what's going on down south. Like what's going on everywhere. Sorry, I don't want to just segregate down south. It's going on everywhere. Right. Yeah. That's a serious problem. And it has a effect on my psyche, because like I'm able to control my actions so I don't lash out so cops can shoot me, but not everybody have that quality. Exactly. Like my brothers and sisters don't all have that quality, so I can't put that on them and say it's their fault they're getting killed because they lash out. No, everybody's different. Yeah. Especially if they know they're being pulled over for a dumb reason. Right. Like you pulling me over just because you think I stole this car. I know. Yeah. I already know, bro.
And that's why I always talk about like the aspect of like racial trauma and like who has the privilege to be able to be afraid in that moment. And when you think about something like that, like you sound like you had good control of your body. Yeah. That's why I say mental health is a lot in the body, because if someone starts shaking or they're afraid, who has the ability to react to that fear?
The cops.
And then
the cops.
And that's the issue, you know. But I praise you for your ability to do that. But that's also the piece, like after that, the body in that moment, you know, like we think about trauma, it's like fight, flight, freeze. Yep. And if it's frozen, like I gotta get through that. Where are we releasing?
Yes.
You know that sometimes like we just gotta get through it.
And we going through it. I didn't even think about after the pandemic. That's such a good pull up. That's such a good call out. So what are some pro tips you can give us to try to prevent us from these triggers in the pandemic? And you can also hit on the epidemic with the police enforcements too with that. Like what are some pro tips that we can use to control our bodies?
Yes. So I think people are doing already a good job just like taking care of yourself, positive affirmations. But I always am recommending like anything that is body centered. So for people who pray, you know, like praying and meditation and things like that to connect with yourself. I would also recommend anything like, when I say body, I mean essential oils have been my go-to. Because here's the thing, even as a therapist, every therapist should have a therapist. Yeah. I have my therapist be helping me with this, but at the same time, I know sometimes my body needs more outside of that. So I say invest in some essential oils, because what happens with essential oils is fascinating. Is when you start smelling them. I don't do the ones that taste. It's just not my thing.
With that.
Right. So I was like, I'll do smell, but when you smell, you're smelling things that generate peace and prosperity and calmness within your body. Some people do, what's the name of it? Sage, yes. So saging and things like that, because it's like you're creating like that calmness in your spirit. Whether that's like working out, I say lifting weights is mindfulness. The reason why you have to check in with your body, your posture, things like that. But surrounding yourself with community.
Do you do you do yoga?
I don't.
Oh,
so I'm not. Okay, I thought I saw the mat.
The guy who let us in, Ben. This is his spot. It's donation based.
Yeah.
And it's what I love about it is in the hood.
Yes.
And you don't see this in the hoods and communities, but he do it every day.
Yeah, and I think that's so important.
Every day he have a yoga class, all donation based. You
wow.
pull up and
is it for like adults or is it for
everybody?
Okay.
So, but mostly be adults in here. Like when I came here, and we meditated in every class. Well, he don't call it meditation because he want people to do what they do, but we lay on our backs in the last 10 minutes of class and just literally listen to a soft beat. I'm like, after we stretch and get into our bodies, that's right. This spot is dope. You should check it out.
I actually will. I tried yoga in college and I used to think I was real strong. I'm just summarizing.
Until you get to yoga.
I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, I'm not as strong as I thought I was. So I have a little fear of yoga, but I'm gonna try it because I know it's beneficial. But also things like, and we think about pandemic, you just really gotta like fight that isolation period. That's like that can really have you sink. So continuing to check in with people, talk to people, get outside, get some fresh air if you can. But in regards to like the racist epidemic, pandemic, really as Black people, people of color, we have to surround ourselves with spaces that don't, reinforce that negative image for you. So it helped me honestly, like the tail end of like the summer was when Netflix dropped all those shows. Wow, I didn't realize how much my mental health shifted. I went from watching Moesha to Girlfriends to the Parkers to 101, and I said, well, I feel great.
Man, them so liberating. Like that was our childhood too.
It is. Man, I don't know how I missed it this whole time. Your inner child. I am always big on connecting with your inner child. The reason why, so for those who don't know what an inner child is, it is like that piece of you, that young piece that kind of holds experiences.
That's huge.
And so when you connect that, because as we're adults and we get older, we forget how to play. We forget how to have fun.
Yes.
And so when you're connecting with your inner child is when you start reflecting back on times when you felt really joyful, things you used to like to do, like just go playing in the sand and all that, and your body would just start like generating like positivity. And I remember, so I actually did something, if you follow me on Instagram, I did like a 20-day.
We're going to have an Instagram over.
Right. Okay, bet. And so I did like the 20 days of connecting with your inner child, where I like guided my followers on ways to do that and different strategies. And my mom, she was like, at first it's like, I don't really know about the inner child things. And then I said, think about when you love to play games. And my mom just gets electric talking about playing cards.
Light up.
Yeah, it's like, that's your inner child. You love to play these things, but as you get older, you lose that. Yeah. So I would say inner child, that's a big piece there too. And
one quick question I didn't have on the list I wanted to ask you. What do you think about social media right now in the state that it got us in?
Like in general life or?
In general life, for like just as far as like our mental health, where if you post a picture with a Lamborghini, I'm gonna feel some type of way because I don't have a Lamborghini.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I think even when you think about like body reconstruction,
yes, filters, that's another one.
I personally, because I'm gonna do both sides.
Yes.
So, and usually I don't do both sides because after this political era, it ain't no both sides. But anyway, I'm just both sides. So. In regards to social media, I do think there's like for years, there's like this comparison factor, right? I'm always seeing people that are better than me or in some way, shape, or form. And they look better, they can do this better or whatever. Now it's like, globally, I can look across and see, wow, they're doing things differently that I don't have. You're also seeing like, that big comparison over and over and over again. So I think it is literally teaching people to have like a lower self-esteem.
Yes.
And you are teaching yourself, I'm never good enough.
100% agree.
And I think it's how you use social media in regards to that. Because I think there's a lot of young people like that use it as a way to like understand and connect and things like that. And underneath that, I do worry about that aspect.
Yes.
And so, but on the other side, because both can coexist, I do see how social media is helping people build better relationships.
Yes, absolutely.
Like there was something not too long ago, like Among Us. I don't know if you heard about that game.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so it's like this game you can play like random people. You're trying to find out. I'm gonna mess it up. So You're trying to find out who the killer is, really. It's kind of like a little, so it's like...
That's a nice little search and destroy game.
Yes.
Almost like a detective game.
Yes, very much so. And then kind of like somebody like dies, and then you have to figure out who is doing it.
Who's behind the scenes.
Yeah, so it opens the door, like things like that open the door for like communication across groups. And TikTok, oh my gosh, like dances and things like, as crazy as it is, it's like, okay, if you're not good enough, you can't do the dance.
Yeah.
On the other side, it's like, oh, if we're able to do the dance, I can teach anybody to do. So like, I had a bunch of teenagers teaching me how to do the renegade. I've never felt so old.
And then on top of the dances, before I let you continue, you can be really bad and blow up from that too.
You can. Right. I was like, what?
You can be really bad.
And so that brings us back to like the crank that era. Like that's for them what all that is. So I see those pieces, and I think it has to like continue to say, okay, you are good enough, even if you can't do these things. And that's why I think, again, that's kind of like why I like Clubhouse. But you see it even in there. It's just like, oh, all of a sudden I started seeing like a bunch of millionaires and billionaires
popping in.
Yeah, but it like kind of started as like, oh, it's just a social gathering place. And so I think as long as we continue to put the base that who you are on social media does not define you. This is the purpose of it. That's where you get it.
So I asked that because I'm in agreement 100% that social media has done good. It has connected families. It has found hearts for people.
Right.
It has found like different type of donors that other than hearts. Like it has saved lives. But also I see the negative effect to where our kids are comparing themselves. Like our young women especially are comparing themselves at 12 years old to another 12-year-old in Scottsdale, Arizona. Like, and the connectivity of that can become unhealthy to where that's why the suicide rate is skyrocketed, especially in our youth. And what's crazy is, Marquis, you can quote me if I'm lying, come behind the camera. Everybody I interview has had an encounter with suicide. So by the way, I just want to let you know you are a survivor. Not saying you have suicidal thoughts, but you are a survivor because I lost a teammate to suicide at college, and as a team captain, that hit me different. Like, I'm like, yo, why wasn't I present? I always question myself, and it's not even about me because like it's so hard to connect with everybody on their personal level to know what they're going through. But Anna, one of my high school friends, Kevin Charles, rest in peace, killed himself our junior year of high school. So like that, and like that was the beginning of the social media era in 2013, 2012, when it was about to explode. But now it's at an all-time high, and we're at the house, we connected to our phones daily. So I'm trying to find that imbalance to where, like, we create a humane technology center. Like, these apps can do better at not putting everybody in a judgment. Taking away the like button would do so much. If you literally stripped everybody of a like button, and you post a picture, and I posted a picture, I can't see how many likes you got, you can't see, that would change the whole...
I think Instagram even, they didn't take it away fully, they just took away the number.
No, for sure, they tried to, but like, I think like just, that like button is a tracker. I can track, I can say, hey, Kayla got 700 likes on her post, but I only got 20.
And we internalize that.
Exactly. And we should not, that does not bring any value to that human just because this human has a following who likes her pictures more or his pictures more. But like, have you ever watched Social Dilemma?
I have.
On Netflix?
I have.
So Tristan, he started, he put together that documentary, and he started, him and a couple other geniuses started Humane Technology Center. And they got a podcast too, I'm gonna have to share, which is really, really awesome. So he's like one of my favorite people in the world because I've been thinking about those problems. I just wasn't as smart as him. And he working with people who created the like button, who was running marketing for Facebook. And he knows like these people don't even let like you saw the documentary, they don't even let their kids use it. So I wanted to check it.
It's sad because it's like it's done intentionally to be harmful. And that's the piece. Like they say it in the documentary that they're trying to do what they can to get somebody to pull back, and it becomes addictive.
Yes.
Which is a crazy lens to look at it from as well. But as you were saying, you talked about the like button. For me, it's also, why do we even have filters?
Come on.
Like when you think about it, like what is the actual purpose of a filter?
Exactly.
Especially, unless you do like the little animal ones and things like that. But like think about,
and you can't even be authentically yourself.
Right. And like Snapchat used to have all those like funny filters, and now they have like a bunch of like
That
just
make you cute. That put so if I got under my beard, I do got acne. It covers my acne. Like why can't I just live in that? Yes. Like I saw a photographer. He went viral on Twitter. And he was like, I only take pictures of people with acne. I was like, I love this dude. Like, I don't even know him, and I love him.
Yeah.
Because he's looking for the people who think they undervalued because they have acne. No, you're just as important. Like, we need more stuff. That's humane technology right there. Like showing love for people like that.
So that's why in December I started like a YouTube channel, and
you sent that to me too.
Yeah,
yes, I checked it out.
I intentionally said I'm not going to wear makeup on this stuff. You can see me now. I was like, I don't wear that. Because I want to love myself. I was like, there's nothing wrong with me not wanting to wear makeup.
Absolutely nothing.
And accept myself. And doing that and I was like, I'm always like, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing. I have bloopers specifically sometimes in there. And it's like, I'm comfortable. You gotta love it. That's why I asked you, are you comfortable going up? Because I'm always just like, I don't care about perfection. I care about
absolutely not. Yeah, like mess up and I'm gonna learn about it if I mess up, just like that. Like if I mess up and it's me, I'm fine with it. Right. We living like that. So
one last drop I'll live to you about this. I don't know if you've seen Black Mirror on Netflix.
I haven't. Is it good?
You should.
It's really good.
It talks exactly about what you're talking about.
I gotta check it out. Hold up, is it doc?
No, it's like a series.
Okay, yeah. Black Mirror.
Yeah, I always say skip the first episode.
I will skip it. I listen. No, I listen.
Yeah, because sometimes it's a little,
Get a little tricky.
Are you like, do you practice like Christianity?
Yeah, I am. I'm a Christian.
It's a very,
it's bold.
I don't know how to describe, it crosses that line.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. But in other areas it does cross. There's some.
Have you watched How to Get Away with Murder?
Oh, I love How to Get Away with Murder.
So I actually sent that show to my mother-in-law. She was not happy. Yeah. I was like, I'm sorry.
Oh,
but is it like that?
No, it's something with animals. That's all I like. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was even just like, whoa. Yeah,
I'm skipping it.
Every episode is like disconnected, but it talks about what you're saying, like there are positives with technology and everything sounds really cool. Okay. But then there's this other side where you're stuck saying, is this something I would really want?
Exactly.
So I'm gonna just leave that there.
Yeah. Black Mirror. I'm on it. I have one final question for you though.
Yeah.
And I think it was, can you it's about help. My computer died on me. Don't hold it against me, y'all. Can you explain the importance of being able to ask for help?
Oh my gosh, yes. So for some reason we have been taught asking for help means that you were weak, right? So I like to think of it like this. So I like to use the example. So I lift weights. I don't know if anybody else lifts weights.
I try.
Okay, so how about this? Let me imagine, all right, you're carrying a big old box, right? So yeah, you are absolutely strong. So you got to get this box from like point A to point B, right? At some point in time, somebody, no matter how strong you are, right, you're carrying that box. Now, let's say you got it, right? You don't need help. Somebody's asking you, no, I'm fine. I don't want them to know I can't have it. At some point in time, let's just say something started dropping on top of the box, right? The box at one point, you could carry it, it was all right. Now it's a little heavier. You still got it, right? It's like your arms might get a little shaky, but you can push through it, right? So I like to call psychological fortitude. Your mind is like, if I push through, I got it. As you keep going, you're still trying to get to point A or point B, something else falls on top of the box. At this point in time, another thing falls on top of the box, right? So what happens is the box, you like now carrying it lower.
Yeah,
you are not. Yeah, you are not as like efficient. You can still do it though, right? So at this point, your body is taxing. You're holding it down. At some point, you might even be kicking the box, right? So the reason why I say like it's important to ask for help is because someone else could carry that with you, and you can get to point B just the same way you're doing right now.
And so, probably more efficiently.
Yes. So when you think about asking for help, it's more about when you get to the destination you're trying to get to, how do you want to feel when you're there? And if you are just like, I want to feel drained, I want to feel tired, I want to feel like I can't do it, I just need to take a break, go ahead. Keep not asking for help. That's fine, because you still can hold that confidence. I got it. If you want to feel refreshed and feel still okay, feel good enough, feel confident in yourself, then why wouldn't you ask for help? And so I have no problem with people who's like say I don't ask for help. I was one of those people. I get it as an athlete. Like if I'm competing, I can't ask for help unless I ask for my coach. Right? At the end of the day, there still is some like individuality to it.
Try to figure it out on your own.
Yes, asking for help is not giving everything up. But when you think about the importance of it, it's because by the time you get to where you want to get to, you want to be your best self or a more capable self than if you were to carry all that by yourself. Right? And so I think that's sometimes what happens with generations is you get to finally witness like, wow, this is great, but you're so exhausted, you can't even embrace it.
Yes, so, I agree. And you hear that, y'all hear that, man. It's important to ask for help. Yeah. It's not a weakness. And
I'm gonna quote Darlene every time. It's a strength to ask for help. So, and you heard it from another therapist. So make sure you guys doing it. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Kayla.
Yeah,
And thanks for giving us them gems. So we're gonna give you a hand clap. I love this button. So soothing. But thank you. No, pleasure to have you on though, seriously. And keep doing what you're doing. And definitely be looking forward to getting you back on another episode.
Okay.
Once I get a little bit more under my belt over
Okay.
here on the minds. But thank you so much,
Thank
Sister
you.
Queen, for coming on. So that wraps up another episode of the Minds with Hakeem podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure y'all hit that thumbs up button below so you can get more fire episodes like this. And make sure you comment below the gems you took away from Kayla and reach out to her. She's here to help y'all. She literally said it. So do not be a stranger. Tell her I sent you. Peace.